Yes, it's important that I teach a martial art class, and and if you watch the classic martial art students, they can kick 3 feet over their own heads. They can jump 1.5 times their own body height. They're gymnasts and all the rest of it. Now, if I was to tell you that's what you have to be able to be in order to be a good martial artist, that would rule out probably 60 or 70% of the world's population. So the only thing in this life that we can be is the best that we can be. And stop comparing ourselves with the Bruce Lees of the world who can do all of those wonderful things, because at the end of the day, is it that necessary? Is it that practical? And as people in my class can tell you, there are many of them that struggle to kick above their own waist. But could they defend themselves in a fight? Oh my gosh, yes. So you don't look at what you can't do, or that what you don't do as well as somebody else does. You look at what you can do, and then you be the best at doing that you can. That's the thing I love. There is one thing in this world that nobody can do better than you can. One thing, and that one thing is being you. No one in the world can do a better job of being you than you can. And so be the best you that you can be. And appreciate that until we've got wings on our backs, we are going to make mistakes. We are not going to be perfect. And appreciate that. So when we make those mistakes, instead of being down on yourself and criticizing yourself and beating up on yourself, I mean, how insane is that? Instead of that, be grateful for the fact that means that you've got some learning to do, which means you're probably going to be around for a little bit longer. Because when you're perfect, that's when you're going to be leaving. We're going somewhere else. So that's the way I look at it. Yeah, make a mistake. Well, that's good. I've got some more learning to do, and there is nothing in this world that is more fun, more valuable, more worthwhile being here than for the learning. As far as I'm concerned, it's all about the learning and the progress that we make through that learning. So you get the positive. Unfortunately, the positive thinking brigade has created its own new neuroses, because now people say, well, I know I'm not supposed to think negative things. I know I'm not supposed to do this, and I'm not supposed to do that. And then when they find themselves doing it, they feel bad about it, and for them that's a failure. I know I'm not supposed to be doing it, and now I'm doing it, so I'm a failure. And how do you progress when you think you're a failure? I'm not quite sure how you do that. So instead, I look at it from the point of view of, wow, I really screwed up there. Wasn't that great? Now, what have I learned from that is going to make sure that I don't do that tomorrow? And I do that with my family, my children. And Jay, you've met my daughter and my son, and I'm sure you'd agree. There's no more stable, balanced couple of young teenagers that you're ever likely to meet on the planet. And how we achieved that to some degree is that from the time that my daughter would have been about 8, and that would have made my son about 5, I held family meetings every 3 months. And we would pick a time when there was no great emotion or anything like that around. It was a quiescent time. We would sit down. My daughter would get to tell me how good a daughter she thought she was, or had been for the last 3 months. She'd get to tell her brother how good a sister she thought she'd been for the last 3 months, and then we'd get our turn. And so I would have the opportunity to say, well, yes, I agree on this, but, I would really like to see you improve in this area here. Her brother might say something similar, and we'd take a note of that, and the next time we have a meeting, we know we're going to be bringing that up again. So you've got to do something about it. If you don't want to hear that again, you've got to do something about it. And it's good to have somebody on your back like that, or they're on your back, but they're taking your back as well. Because we're working together. And so, she would get to do it. Then my son would have his turn, and then it would be my turn. And, as absolutely astounding and astonishing as it was, I would think that I was the best dad in the world, and sometimes they wouldn't agree with me. And I don't know how they come to that, but but that's the way it is, and so rather than taking what they would say as a criticism, there's two reasons why you don't think something is the way it should be. One is because it really isn't the way it should be. The other is because you didn't have enough information. And when you hear, for example, at one stage there, my kids were concerned that I let my wife boss me around more than they thought was nice. And I said to them, well, how would you feel if I was to have a stand-up shouting match in front of her every time she did something that I didn't really feel good about? And they said, oh, Dad, we wouldn't like that at all. And I said, well, okay. So I said, what I would ask you to do then is trust that when I need to talk about something, I do talk about it, but I prefer not to do it as a shouting match in front of you kids. And they were perfectly happy with that. So added that little bit of information, and all of a sudden a situation that doesn't seem right or isn't totally aligned, now it makes sense and it all works for you.